detail, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of The Mediator with me, your host, Brian West, here to give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it in this week. As usual, I'll give you the top 8 local headlines, developing news stories that made it in first. Then we may do a movie clip, a skit, or something that's going on in the community, or even a trailer. And then I'll give you the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it in this week. So let's waste no time. Let's get to it. Story number 1, Ohio kids remain a top concern. Everyone has different opinions on how to keep a child on the right path, but Ohio's children remain the center of attention. Over the years, local residents have spent time and money to make sure each child has a path to a bright future. But with a slight decline in the stats when it comes to productivity, many onlookers now wonder if they're seeing a return on their investment, especially in the future of children. One main talking point in this discussion is that as kids transition into the workforce, some can't seem to keep up. The story is still developing, and that's why it crept into the top 8 this week. Story number 2, the average income in Youngstown needs to be discussed. Seriously, Youngstown has land, water, and potential, but the average income in the city is estimated to be only $27,031. Wait a minute, let me repeat that. $27,361. That can only change when more money is circulating within the city's economy. Let me repeat that again. That can only change when money is circulating in the city's economy. I'm repeating that for a reason. That's not big money to work with, especially when the price of everything is going up. Many blame the city's culture of mismanaging money, but until the city reaches a higher standard of living, it will continue to go in circles economically. And in the midst of a COVID-19 crisis, Youngstown is a prime example of how city officials are struggling to raise the bar for their people. This is a big developing story. Story number 3, the discussion of how schools are funded is continuing on. Schools are funded per student, if you didn't know that, public schools. But should it be based off of the family's income? This is a new talk. Well, it's been the talk for a while. Now, as education remains a top priority, how education is funded is also a concern. Some feel that the system has been cheating low-income households, while others feel that low-income households have their priorities mixed up. This is another big developing story when it comes to education and education discussion. Story number 4, another headline centered around the mismanagement of city funds. Dominic Marcianda and Dave Buzanich are just a few caught up in a bribery and tampering with record scheme, including false invoices to get money from the city for multiple projects. And an ongoing investigation, officials cite a misuse of city funds on a mass scale. That's bad news. They've also left a trail of evidence for investigators to follow. Both suspects have pleaded guilty to these crimes. This is a big developing story circulating around Youngstown. This has been a talk of the town for I'll say as long as this trial has been going on. So keep an eye on this developing story. Story number 5. How is Ohio handling the unemployment crisis? An estimated $5.8 billion in unemployment benefits have been issued out over 3 to 4 months to more than 771,000 Ohioans. And now the state plans to issue out more money in the range of $300 to $400 to keep the economy afloat to those who are unemployed, and they're trying to keep money in the hands of that specific person who is unemployed or people who are unemployed. As the coronavirus continues to be a business and job killer, the state and federal government have no choice but to act quickly. The story is just one of many reporting the status of the local and state job market. Keep an eye on this story. That's why I made it to the top 8 this week. Story number 6. A lot of Ohioans are still confused about COVID-19. This is real talk. Real. The governor tested positive. Then he tested negative. The story goes on. Some say masks will protect you, and some don't think they will. People can protest, but they can't gather. Real confusing. In the middle of a global pandemic, Ohio remains at the center of attention between a conflict with medical professionals and common sense thinkers. That means people who think they know what they're talking about, but may not, and may be spreading disinformation around Ohio. Everyone has heard it, and everyone is starting to see the effects. The saying that the cure may be worse than the disease is what's keeping this story alive, and a lot of people are confused about what does and doesn't work. This story continues to develop, and you better believe that it'll probably be a top topic as just the confusion and chaos continues in the saga of which is titled COVID-19. Story number 7 in the top 2 local headlines and developing news stories that made in this week. Are local residents using COVID-19 as an excuse? The heat is on, but as COVID-19 cripples the local economy, there have been reports that some people have been hiding under a rock. They're afraid. If this continues to go on, some may find themselves, along with others, with a dwindling supply of resources that includes money. What bumped this story up into the top 2 is the growing fact that only work can keep things in motion and only money can pay the bills in capitalism. That means the government can't keep printing out dollars without somebody having to pay it back, and that includes the state. That's why story number 7 made it to the top 2 this week. Story number 8 and the top local headline and developing news story that made in this week. The local small business community may need to regroup. It's the top local headline. Big corporations have gobbled up everything, including corporations bigger and smaller. And then they also gobbled up those with little capital as well. This is big talking points around a lot of circles, as many have painted corporations as the enemy of the state and the enemy of the people. In the fight to defeat COVID-19, family-owned small businesses have not even had a head start to win this race. As this story continues to develop, lawmakers will be finding themselves in some tight situations if small businesses continue to suffer. Well, those are our top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made in this week. Don't go anywhere. You're in the Mediator with me, Brian West. I'll be right back with the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that...
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
If you want to check out the stories that almost made it in or did make it in, go to our Twitter feed on our website. Check out everything. All of the sources are there. And go to the website. It's method8inc.com, method8inc.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program.